Hello and welcome to my 1-year owner's review of the Audi A4 Avant. My car was one of the first of what Audi calls the B9 generation of A4s, introduced in 2015, and I received my car in late January 2016. I made a few videos reviewing this car last year, and I thought it would be interesting to see how it's fared over its first year of use. The car has driven almost 16,000 kilometres, or 10,000 miles in that year, which are mostly short trips close to home, but also a few longer trips from my home in Belgium to Italy and Austria for ski trips, and also to England to visit my family. I'm going to follow up on all three of my videos from last year in this video, my main review and my videos on the options and on the multimedia interface. I won't repeat what I said in those videos. My goal here is just to update my review with any further impressions or reflections after a year of driving. I won't make you wait for my main conclusion. My A4 drives beautifully, it's extremely comfortable and practical too. Despite a couple of glitches, I haven't had any significant problems with it, and it hasn't had to go back to the dealer for any reason. I'm still very happy with my choices, both of the car itself and what I picked from the options list. I'll come back on these points later, but if you want to go away now, the car still gets the thumbs up from me. Regarding the car itself, at a mechanical and physical level, I have no criticisms. I'm very happy with my choice of engine. The 190 brake horsepower petrol engine is powerful and quiet, and as you'd expect, it's perfectly suited to cruising at high speeds on the unrestricted German autobahns. I didn't get four-wheel drive, and for my use so far, including 2 ski trips, I haven't needed it, although if you do regularly drive on icy roads, then I imagine it is worthwhile. This is my first automatic car, so I'm no expert, but for me the automatic gearbox is excellent. It's smooth and discreet, and I've never really felt that it was in the wrong gear. It's also easy to drive, particularly for anyone with knee or ankle problems. The interior of the car is spacious and comfortable, and visibility for the driver is very good. The electronics, and particularly the virtual cockpit and the multimedia interface, are where a lot of the innovations exist in this car, and also where a lot of the attention is focused. The virtual cockpit is great, and it would feel like a big step backwards to return to traditional dials. I have seen a couple of bugs. For example, the car often gives me a message telling me that there is a delay on a route when I start up, even though I haven't programmed a route, but otherwise the software seems to be very good. We also had a problem one day when returning through the Channel Tunnel, when we'd left the electronics systems on during the crossing to listen to music, and that seems to have drained the battery, which meant that the multimedia interface didn't work on the drive back home. This was a problem as there was heavy traffic that day, and we really could have used the navigation system since it adjusts your route according to the traffic situation, but it wasn't working even after an hour or more of driving. It worked again the next day, but that was quite annoying. These problems are very much the exception though. Talking of the navigation system, it's annoying that it doesn't warn you of speed cameras. It seems idiotic to have an inbuilt sat-nav costing many hundreds of euros that has less functionality than a cheap TomTom. If it's illegal in certain countries, then turn it off there, but generally when I'm driving I prefer to keep my eyes on the road, and with a powerful engine it's sometimes hard to avoid going over the speed limit. In my review, I mentioned the duplication between the virtual cockpit screen and the central screen, and I think my view on that has changed a bit. I like having the 2 screens, and in particular it's easier to perform a lot of tasks on the central screen, probably because the interface with the larger joystick and buttons is easier than the smaller buttons on the steering wheel. Even when I'm following the navigation system, I like to have the virtual cockpit showing the driver's perspective and the central screen showing a different top-down view, so that I can see exactly what I have to do next in front of me, as well as an overview of my route. I use the 2 silver buttons in front of the main joystick a lot to switch between the main functions too. One missed opportunity in my view is the 8 shortcut buttons. These are not as useful as they could be because they can only be programmed for certain specific tasks. Because of this, I've never bothered to set up more than a couple of them, and I think that could be improved. I know that they would originally be there to select different radio stations, and this functionality has been extended, but I don't generally listen to the radio, and so for me their use has not been extended enough. I haven't used the voice control feature at all. I should probably explore it again. A friend of mine has recently bought a new Citroën Picasso and he uses a voice interface which seems to be better than the Audi's. I never got around to publishing a video on the boot space management kit, but the simple truth is that I haven't used it. I think it is a good feature, but my boot is almost always occupied by our dogs and the protective cover that I bought, because the dogs are often very dirty after our walks in the forest. I upgraded the seats to the electronic controls with memory for the driver's seat, and that's great because my girlfriend and I both use the car regularly, and it takes the pain out of adjusting the seat every time. I think this idea needs to be extended to other settings though. There should be driver profiles that cover things like the drive settings, music choices and navigation preferences. I don't know if other car manufacturers already do this, but it seems like the obvious next step in user friendliness. Related to the car's electronics, I have also downloaded Audi's smartphone apps, but I've never managed to get them to work. I don't know if this is because they don't work in Belgium, but clearly there is some kind of problem. I'm fairly good with technology, and if I can't get them to work, then I don't think many other people will either. I'm not sure if I'm missing anything particularly useful, and I have a mental note to ask Audi about this when I take the car in for its first service. When I ordered my car, I spent a lot of time deciding which options to take. On the whole, I'm still pretty happy with my choices. As I said, I haven't really used the boot management kit, and I haven't personally found the automatic parking particularly necessary. However, the rear camera is brilliant, and all-round parking sensors really are a must. The automatic headlight dipping function is also pretty useful for night driving. If I was buying again and had a bit more budget available, I might look at the upgraded suspension. Not that the standard suspension is bad, but I suspect that it would improve the ride. The interior LED lighting kit isn't expensive and can add a touch of luxury, and then I might think about the upgraded air conditioning system and the adaptive cruise control. None of these is a necessity for me though. If you want to see almost all of the options, watch my options video. I'll put a link below. I bought a pair of Audi's own roof bars for my car since it was a brand new model and roof bars from other manufacturers weren't yet available. I got a different roof box though, because Audi's own roof boxes are ridiculously expensive. I got a fairly large one that's long enough to take my skis. In fact, I went skiing with friends a few weeks ago and we put 4 pairs of skis and a snowboard in the roof box, which freed up a lot of space inside our cars. The bars are okay. They fit on the rails fairly easily and they seem to be quite sturdy, but they have a rubber strip on the top which you can't leave on if you drive with nothing else on the bars, because it flies off. I found this pretty poor, and now that the car has been around for a year, I would recommend looking at roof bars from other companies such as Tula. I've found, by the way, that the roof box seems to increase fuel consumption by about 10%. So in conclusion, despite the odd minor niggle, I've been very happy with my Audi A4, and I have no regrets about my choice of car or the options that I took. It's really comfortable and pleasant to drive, and it's done everything I've needed, including swallowing up large amounts of stuff on long trips. I wouldn't hesitate to recommend it, and I'm very happy with the prospect of keeping this car for a good few years until I can buy an electric car in the future.